went down your plane. You could have had a delay. You didn't necessarily have to have a crash, but you could have had a delay. You could have had so many. You could have lost your luggage. You could have done any of those things. But because of the grace of God, he made a way. When your back was against the wall, as the songwriter said, and it looked as if it was over, he made a way. So 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 9 and 10. I'm going to read it in the NASB, just real close to King James. Power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Come on, say amen to the word of the Lord. You may be seated. Look at the person sitting next to you and say, I'm out in the open. Come on, say it again like you mean it, but let's say it like you got some hair on your chest. I'm going to be out in the open. There we go. Out in the open. The Apostle Paul simply writes this. He makes it so plain and clear. But he said unto me, my grace is sufficient. Jesus said, my grace is enough for you. For my power is made perfect in weakness. I don't know about y'all, but I know I do not like to be embarrassed. Y'all like to be embarrassed? I don't like to be embarrassed. I don't like for people to embarrass me. I don't like to be in a situation where I'm compromised because somebody's afraid to tell me that, again, I got a booger in my nose. Like tell me. Don't just have me all out with one swinging every time I breathe. Have you ever looked at somebody? Have you ever looked at somebody? You got to follow me, son. Have you ever looked at somebody and they just talking away, just the talkative, just like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, how you doing, Zion? Yeah, I ain't seen you. And that booger just swinging. When you exhale, and it looks like it's almost about to come out, but it's not. That's terrible. That's terrible. I don't want nobody, listen, you are not my friend if you don't say, hey, man. Like, you got to give me a warning, Andrew. You got to give me a warning. See, there you go, right? You just did it. He just did it. He did like that. So you telling me I got something in my nose? Let me see. I think I'm good. I don't feel nothing. That's the thing. People don't feel anything. That's the reason why they're out in the open, embarrassed, full of humiliation, but they don't even know it yet. Like, you ever seen somebody walk out? I saw it yesterday at the airport. This lady walked out. She was really walking. She got an attitude. Yeah, that's how I'm trying to get the heel sign. But guess what was wrong? Yes. She had toilet paper hanging from her shoe. And I was like, you out here now? You bring it out when you sit down. Don't sit like when you sit down and you. Oh my goodness! You ever been in a conversation with somebody like you were really talking? Because y'all know I talk all day. I done put in 8-hour shifts on TikTok, and I done had like conversations where I'm talking to people, and then I get back. Don't know everybody's engaging and everything. Everybody talking like yeah. do you remember when when that part happened, and then the thing, she was like, what? And I was like, oh. And then when I seen it, it never left my soul. And then you get in the car, and you're like, yeah, man, it's time to go home. And then you put on a little sun visor, and you're like, was that there the whole time? Like, was there something there the whole time and you did not tell me? That's embarrassing. Or even the time, I think I mentioned this before, the times where my wife would send me, John, don't let Katrina do you like this. The times where my wife would say, hey, I need this from the store, and say, it costs, it's just $25. And you're like, okay. Then the little gullible husband, all right, she says she needs, it's $25. You get there, it looked like it's $25, because there's a label underneath that says $25, but I don't know if anybody gets frustrated with Walmart like I do, because ain't nothing what it say it is. It seems like when you get to the register and you hear, boop, it turned into a whole different price. Like, did y'all just have a season change and I didn't know it? Y'all didn't tell nobody? But here I am up there at the cash register. She said it costs $25, and they're like $49.98, some stupid price, some odd number, 98. Like just make it $50. Don't do that. That's dumb. But here I am embarrassed. And I'm more so embarrassed at moments like this because I'm out in the open. A lot of times we don't like being in situations where we are vulnerable. People shut off from other people. The reason why the world is so bad today is because there's no vulnerability. There's no openness. There's nobody that is willing to be embarrassed for the sake of love. You ever see it in the movies where the love interest is at their wits' end? I gotta let her know I love her. Don't do it! Wait a minute. Hold on, Reverend. Wait a minute. I love you. Don't you know? I love you. Listen, excuse me, bro. He getting in between the bride-to-be and the officiant and the groom. The groom in the front like, no, you didn't. Hey, Brad, handle my light work. He's like, all right, beat it, buddy. Skedaddle. Get out. Get. You better get on. You ever had somebody treat you like a stray cat? Just get on. Get on. You're like, what's wrong with you? But they're not ashamed to be out in the open. Because when you love someone, you just don't treat them bad. Oh, how I feel. No. You know that song? Yeah, I'm still saved, I promise. It just came to my mind. But vulnerability is scary. It's scary to be out in the open. I had to use this picture of me. This was from the last Sunday we were here, last Saturday we were here. It feels like a Sunday. But this is from the last Saturday we were here. And I was worshiping, I was off to the side like that. And y'all know me, like, you see me on TikTok and you see me in all these places, and I'm vulnerable in front of people. Because it's not about my surroundings, it's not about who's around me, it's about who I'm in relationship with. I'm out in the open. Like, I use that picture and I use this background because the water is where you're out in the open. You allow the Spirit to keep you open. How does this relate to the text today? Because Jesus said, my grace is sufficient. I have enough for you. For my power is made perfect in weakness. This is why I say all the time, you got to live low. Don't live too high where you can't live low. Or you can't get low. Because we have to take pleasure in our weaknesses. I have to take pleasure in my weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses. What does that mean? That doesn't mean, hey, man, I'm glad I can't help myself from drinking. That ain't what that means. I'm glad. I'm glad I talk to anything with a skirt. I'm glad. That's not boasting in your weakness. That's boasting in your weakness is saying, Lord, I'm not strong enough. I need you. Because the more you recognize that you're weak, the more you're going to depend on God. The more you think that you're strong is the more that God sees, okay, you think you got it all under control, and you don't need me. So then we fall into these snares and traps of the enemy, and we can't get out of them because we haven't realized that, hey, I'm not self-made. You said you were self-made, but I'm not self-made. It was God that made me. So in my weakness, his power is made perfect. Therefore, I will boast more gladly about my weaknesses. Therefore, I will boast more gladly about my weaknesses. So what? That Christ's power may rest on me. I can hear everything in here right now. But I want to be vulnerable and live a vulnerable life. Because when you're out in the open, it's easier for him to bless you. Instead of living a Christian life where you're, yes, Lord, I trust you. I'm not out in the open. What's covering me? The table. The table. The table is covering me. Now I need you to understand something. When we let Jesus into our lives, we invite him into Andrew, your body is a house. My body is a house, a mansion, marble floors, all of that. Able to receive what he's trying to give me. Deliverance is unobtainable. I cannot acquire goodness if I'm living my life under the table. I'm not vulnerable because I'm trying to protect myself from stuff that I think that it's going to affect my life, when really I'm infecting my life by living under the table. So how do you come out? By being out in the open. How do you get touched? By living out in the open. How do I get free? By living out in the open. I have to come out. He says, take my hand, come unto me. And as you begin to trust God, you get from under the table and you get out in the open. It's a lot like, you like football? A little bit? Me too. I don't like football that much. But before a quarterback can throw a pass, the wide receiver must get out in the open.